What's going on, everyone? It's Coach Kyle here. Before we jump into this episode, you are absolutely going to love it. I don't remember the last time I've filmed an episode without Josh. It's been at least 5+ years if I've ever even done that. He's on a well-deserved vacation visiting the Big Apple, which is absolutely amazing. But today I'm going to be interviewing and just doing a laid-back, chill episode for Motivation Monday with our amazing coach Armando, who's helped so many of our clients throughout the duration of his coaching timeframe. He's an absolute expert at what he does. So we're going to be able to dive into his thoughts behind nutrition, some of his top tips to help you lose a bunch of weight, stay consistent. We talk about hyrox, hybrid training, and so much more. So make sure to watch this episode. I can't wait for you to learn a bunch. And if you are someone who's struggling, looking to get to the next level on your journey, we just released our fall promo. It's going to be early access, so you're going to get an amazing discount if you message us saying fall special to Instagram at Colossus Fit, COLOSSUSFIT. Now into this awesome episode. Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all happy podcast. I am your host, KG, here with a special guest,
Coach Armando, and this time I'm in the house.
We are so happy to have you here, and especially Armando for making the trip to come here, spit some fire, educate, and really help you on your fitness journey. So just a little housekeeping. I have not shared any of the questions with Armando. I feel like interviews are a lot better when, it's just on the spot. We can just talk back and forth and just share some information as to how to help more people. And what I really wanted to start with was going back to your beginning, like before you started working out, when you were skinny Armando. Like, tell me a little bit more about your story, and hopefully that can inspire some people as well.
Right. So if I go all the way back to the beginning of my relationship with any kind of fitness, any kind of sport, it was definitely soccer. So soccer was my main thing. When I was younger, that's what I always liked to focus on. I would say it consumed a big part of my life. And even with that, once we started getting a little bit older, I think once we were in high school, that's when our coaches started introducing us to a bit of strength training, right? A little bit of resistance training, trying to get us to actually get stronger to help us on the field. So that was my introduction to any kind of work in the gym or even just using my own body weight to train. And I didn't really get into it that much. I did it because I had to. I was being assigned it. But it was once I actually stopped playing soccer that I realized, oh man, like if you don't keep up with something, it's really hard to actually get yourself to continue getting stronger, to continue keeping yourself in good shape. So that's the origin of that. So once I started to realize that I actually had to continue training on my own, have a regimen, create some type of balance and some structure to follow, that I could take that with me anywhere I am in the world, at any type of stage where I am in my life. And I realized that that's actually a super powerful thing. And I think that's probably one of the best things that I could even tell anybody who's watching this right now, is that no matter what age you're at, or no matter what level you're at, you can strength train. And that was something I didn't really realize until later in life. And if I could tell my younger self that would be exactly that. Like, learn as young as you can. If you're a parent right now and you're training, maybe don't train with your kid, but just train in front of them so they can see what you're doing, because you're subconsciously showing them what they can also do in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And honestly, it couldn't be more true. I really feel like starting from sports has been like such an important part of a lot of people's journey. Like, there's so many people who reach out to us who have been like athletes, and we just kind of have to find our outlet, right? Like, for a lot of people, it was, hey, I'm on the soccer pitch for 5 days a week. I played hockey myself, and even just, I really feel like having something that you're working towards is so powerful. So I thought that was really cool. Did you find like, were there any setbacks that you had, any obstacles like throughout getting into it that you felt you could share with anyone?
Yeah, so I feel like the biggest setbacks would just be the overflow of information that you can find online. And when you're younger, you may not want to spend as much money. So you're like, hey, I'll spend more time and more energy trying things out, figuring things out. So a lot of trial and error and finding essentially what works best in regards to training, in regards to nutrition, and all of that stuff being done essentially later led me to the fact that things are actually much more simple than they needed to be. And that's what we teach a lot of people now, is that, there's a lot of information online. Yeah, you're going to find a lot of fluff there. But if you really just focus on the basics, you can take that with you for the rest of your life. And so over time, learning all those different things, trying all these different things, I wouldn't say it was a waste of time, but it was definitely there to remind me that, hey, right, if I actually just focus on the fundamentals and do those consistently, I can keep on getting better at doing those. And you can take that actually with you, whether you're in a different gym, whether you're in a different country, whether you're in a different phase of life, you can simplify it, but everything always comes back to that core, those fundamental principles.
That's awesome. You know, it's funny because a lot of people don't realize Coach Armando, actually, he's been working with us, helping our clients transform for probably about 4 years now, maybe coming up on 5. It's been quite a while. So he was the first person that we brought on board. And to give you a little backstory, basically, we, Josh and myself, we were doing a speech at a place called Centennial College, and this was in the fitness, health, and promotion department. So basically, he was in class. We went to speak about online fitness coaching because one of the guys, his name was Adam, he had us come in, and we basically just talked about what was going on the online world. Like, this was 5+ years ago. It was pretty new to a lot of people. Armando was in that class studying, being a personal trainer. He was doing, what was it exactly called, the course?
So that's funny. That course was, fitness and health promotion. And what they did in that course was they took the Can't Fit Pro textbook and they broke up all the different topics from within the textbook into classes. That one was specifically program design. And it was a surprise too. He just told us, hey guys, I have guests coming in next week. And so I was like, you know what? I wonder who it's going to be. And then it ended up being Coach KG and Coach Josh coming in and teaching all of us just the different options that we had within the fitness industry to not just have to work in a gym, but also be able to scale and be able to help people all around the world. And my eyes were lit up. I'm pretty sure I was the only guy in that class who had a piece of paper out and I was writing all the notes. I was like, guys, they're showing us how to make a bigger impact and be able to not be limited to the 8 people that you could usually train during the day in a gym setting.
Yeah, it was awesome. So Armando reached out to us basically and he said, hey, I want to work for you guys. And we hired him. He's helped over 500 people transform online. So he's definitely an expert. And it's been really, really cool to see him grow as a coach and just be able to help people, be able to care about every client, be able to help support them. And it's funny, I just got off a interview with one of his most successful clients, Taylor, who's lost over 100 pounds. So we'll talk more about that afterwards. But I'm curious, you as an expert, and I had to build that up because you absolutely are someone who specializes in helping people. What are some common mistakes you see people making that's just holding them back from seeing results?
I'll even bring up one of the most common ones, which I've had with a client recently, and that is the mindset in regards to the approach with a lot of these things. So you can give people guidelines, but then the way that they actually implement that, they'll usually end up doing what they just know, right? You learn things when you're younger, maybe your parents taught you certain things, and you had a mindset built up towards this is how things need to be with food and this is how they need to be with training. And what we're doing with people is breaking those old habits and replacing them with the ones that they actually need to know. So there's always going to be resistance, and I often see a lot of people overcomplicate the approach with nutrition especially. So what I have to say to that is just focus on the basics, right? Just 80% whole foods, right? What are you focusing on more of, not restricting from? So focus on that 80% whole foods. Make sure you're getting a good amount of protein at each meal, right? You should be getting most of your vitamins and your minerals from the veggies and the fruits that you eat, and you will obviously get a lot of that from your protein as well. And then you can fill the little spaces with some of those other things that you might like, and that's actually going to allow you to not just stay on track on any given day, but any week, any month, and that'll turn into years of consistency.
Yeah, and that's something we just really focus on with each person, right? When they start the fitness journey, whether someone has 10 pounds to lose, 100 plus pounds, people are like, I got to go to the gym 7 days a week, go run a marathon, buy all these supplements and take all these pills. And it's no, you don't need to do that. So I think that was so well said. And honestly, one of my other questions within all that is if you find someone's really struggling and they're just struggling with consistency, what are some ways that you've found it to be successful to get them back on track and to really succeed?
The biggest thing with helping anybody who is struggling that I have found has been asking the right questions. And so this is where a lot of people think a coach is just going to tell you exactly what you need to do. But a lot of times I need to actually stop myself from doing that and just ask them, right? A little bit about their past, a little bit about what certain situations might make them feel. What kind of thoughts does it bring up? And that's when you really start to learn about people, why they are the way that they are. And then you can use that information to give them the right response and kind of give them the right incentive to why they want to change. Like, why do they actually want to do these things and what might be holding them back?
Man, one of the biggest mistakes as a coach, I'm not sure how many coaches are listening to this, but even if you're someone who just wants to see change, it's just like so many times people will instantly just start talking. It's like, even if someone has a problem, whether it's a friend, a coworker, obviously like a client, it's like you hear someone talk and then you're already thinking of what you're going to say and you just start like throwing a million things. Do this, do this, do this. It's like, that's not going to work. So yeah, like what's cool is every Monday we actually do a one-on-one meeting with our coaches. We go over people's situations. We have our specific chat. We have just a lot of support between Josh and myself on top of that for our coaches. But it's just really amazing to see like everyone is so unique. And that's where a lot of people listening, like obviously this is great advice. We give general tips, like that's awesome. But when you can get into someone's situation and see this is the time this person wakes up, this is what they do for work, this is where they're struggling, and we can create tips for them, it makes such a big difference.
Absolutely. So even with that, any person with a strong enough why will figure out how. And we can really get down to like the deep rooted why if I have those conversations with those people. And then figuring out how to do things or how to get them back on track becomes so much easier.
Honestly, that kind of brings me into my other question is like, why do you think, like, what's the number one reason you feel like our program is able to help people stay on track?
I would say the fact that the how, the approach within the guidelines that we set can be adapted to anybody. And I truly believe that, right? So a lot of people, if you give them a calorie range, I always say this, there's like 1,000 different ways that you could hit these calories. And you're going to be in different places. You might be traveling for work. You might be at home and it might be more simple. Or you might have your in-laws coming into town. And the how you hit those goals might look different. But as long as you consistently hit those goals, you will see the progress that you actually want to see. And so that's what really liberates a lot of people from, I would say, the change that they might have had on their mind in the way that they thought things needed to be, because it's actually a lot more simple. And that's really what we just pride ourselves on teaching people, is that it doesn't have to be that complicated. Focus on those principles, hit them in different ways, and actually shows you that you don't need to eat just off a meal plan, and you don't have to say no to everything and bring Tupperware to weddings. Like, you can absolutely eat out, you can have those dinners with your kids, and you can still see great results.
It honestly pains me when I see people who are just like struggling in that sense. Like, they'll get a little bit of results here and there, but you just see them either like be miserable or fall off like once they end up integrating something else into their life. It's like kind of crazy, because when you see people in our program, when you see like the people Armando's worked with, I've worked with, our entire team's worked with, and you see them just like thriving. Like, we have some of our clients, you know, we check them on Instagram and whatnot, they'll post a donut. Like, some of their friends are probably thinking like, what the heck? Like, you can have a donut and still stay on track. So it is pretty cool. But once again, I really like that Armando is like really focused on the basics. And I heard a quote before is like, the most advanced thing you can do is the basics consistently.
That's the one. I always tell people that because they think, okay, now that I'm getting more advanced, maybe there's something else that I need to do. Always looking for something new. I think they even call that the shiny object syndrome. And it happens to all of us, right? That's, I would say, our human nature. We're almost naturally inclined to do that. But it's like we have to act against that. We have to refrain ourselves from looking for that new thing and just focus on what's already working and just keep on repeating, keep on building up the repetitions, get yourself used to it. And it's more of stopping yourself from looking for that next thing and just focusing on what always works.
And it's funny, I'm sure you've experienced this. I've had it a number of times, like even clients who are paying me, they'll come in and they'll be doing great and I'll still have to catch them. They'll message and say, hey Kyle, I just saw this new exercise. I saw this new approach. I saw this new supplement. What do you think? And I'll give them the answer and like, yeah, that's why I hired you. Like, that's why I pay you, like to tell me what I need to hear, right?
Exactly. I actually just had somebody do that recently, and I told them it's good that you're curious, because being curious is important. So if you do feel like you have a little bit of extra time at the end of your workout because you see a machine and you're like, hey, I want to see how that machine works, that could eventually be used within our programming. But don't stray too far away from the actual program, because I designed that specifically for you to get the best results possible and not waste any extra time.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm curious. I mean, obviously, Colossus Fitness as a whole, we've helped over 5,000 people online. Armando, I'd say he's probably a good close to 1,000 of that. Josh and myself started over 10 years, but it's been really cool to see. Once again, Armando has helped so many people. I'm curious though, within the transformations that you've had, is there anything that stands out to you? Anyone that is just like really like you consistently think about their results, what they've done? You want everybody to get those type of results, like anyone that stands out to you?
Since we were just talking about her, I do have to just say a big shout out to Taylor. Taylor's an absolute legend. And the reason why she didn't get these amazing results was because of everything being easy. I want people to understand that too. It was absolutely difficult for her every single step of the way. So many different obstacles, so many different things that got in her path that would have easily taken somebody else and taken them the complete opposite direction of just giving up, of completely quitting. But we had those tough conversations. I really made sure to understand her better and remind her that those are the things that are going to make her stronger and going to make her wiser, have more experience, become more adaptable, and be able to take those frameworks, those principles that we use and apply them in different ways at different stages of her life. So I do actually just want to take this moment to thank you and Josh for even giving me the opportunity to work with Taylor, because if it wasn't for these guys, I wouldn't have worked with her. And if it wasn't for me working with her, I wouldn't have transformed her into who she is today. And obviously she has a big credit in that. So Taylor, if you're watching this, you're an absolute legend, and we're just going to keep on making even more amazing results happen.
Yeah. And so if you're listening to this, I just filmed like an interview with her like 20 minutes before this. So that will probably be out afterwards. That's something to look forward to. She gave so much credit to Coach Armando for the results and just like the ups and downs. Like you guys can hear the podcast, like just go listen to that. Like every time she would bring it back and just be like, Armando's the best, Armando's the best. But you can learn so much from someone's transformation. And even we were talking, just her and I, a lot of times people will have a setback and it's game over. Like her setbacks were huge, like hip surgery. She couldn't hit legs for 9 months. Obviously some toxic relationships. She had a lot of school. Like there's so many things going on. But one of my biggest pieces of advice, like no matter who like someone is just if you have something happening, don't let it hold you back. Like most people will find an excuse whenever they can. Like it's like, oh, it's raining. All right, I can't hit the gym. It's like people love excuses. And I say this with love. It's like if you are someone who wants to see better results and wants to see change, don't let that stop you. And I'm curious for you, if you were to have any tips for someone who just has like a setback, like they have a small injury for a week, like anything going on, like you've helped some people like go through some of the hardest times in their life. What would you recommend to someone who just is like stuck? They're not seeing change. They're just struggling.
My top recommendation would be to actually sit with the discomfort of what that situation is making you feel. A lot of people get into the habit of maybe wanting to run away from that or numb themselves from that, but that's literally your superpower. And that's what Taylor did. And that's what a lot of people who have become very successful from being in bad situations have done, is that they take that adversity and then they say, hey, like, I don't like the way this feels. How can I make sure I never feel that way ever again? Or take that pain and turn it into the power that fuels their workout. Or like you said, it's raining outside. Cool. This will make it even better. I'll feel even more proud of myself if I go on that walk, because I'll look back and say, wow, it was so easy for me to say no, but instead I said yes when it was the hardest time to do it. And that's where the most amount of change happens.
Awesome. And I just keep looking at your maroon t-shirt. Both Mondo and I are wearing them. It's basically for anyone who completes our challenge, they will be able to receive a t-shirt. So right now we're about halfway through. It's been amazing. How does a t-shirt fit? Pretty good, eh?
Guys, these are the best t-shirts, hands down. Best material, best fit. We got the nice classic logo on the front, and we got some cool font on the back too. So if you want to win one of these, definitely put in the work. And I don't think there's anything better than being able to earn a shirt than just buy one.
Yeah, so we've never done this before. It's pretty cool. You guys heard us talk about it, but anyone who completes the challenge, we have a lot of people already crushing it, will receive this. And it says no challenge too great on the back, which is cool. And I had to copy Armando. Basically, the other day we went out to dinner. We had a team day, Friday Harbor, and we were giving them all the shirts. And, half of us were wearing the maroon ones. So I'm like, all right, why don't we Armando called us the Maroon Men.
That's it. We are the Maroon Men. You thought Maroon 5 was cool? We were even better.
So anyways, that's you're not going to be able to get one of these, unfortunately, just yet. But if you are someone who's struggling, you want to see change, I just wanted to interrupt this quick interview here. We are running a promotion. It's our fall special. So anyone who wants to get results, see some amazing change, you can also just message us, Armando, and we can have you work with him directly one-on-one. Obviously he specializes in helping people lose fat, build muscle, transform their mindset. So you can message us, Armando, or message us fall special, whatever works best for you, and you will get some discounted coaching. So that is absolutely amazing and a great time to jump on board with that. But I was just curious, on that subject, why do you think having accountability is key? Taylor told me for a long time about it, but I'm curious what you think it is that really helps people on their journey.
I'll even give an example of myself. Is if I have to do something or I, have a goal in mind, but I don't communicate it with anyone, it's very easy for me to put it off. And for a lot of people, it's easier to just hide from that. So when you have accountability, that means that you're not just holding that goal to yourself, but you're speaking to your coach about that. You're speaking to your friends about that. You might have a training partner or somebody who's going to be in that journey with you, and you don't want to let them down either. Right? It does stem back to you don't want to let yourself down, but when you have that extra person there to remind you about that goal, it's going to be so much harder for you to fall off. So a lot of people might talk themselves off of that ledge and just say, hey, I'll get back to this next week, next month, and then that turns into next year. But when you have a coach who's on you, who's checking in with you, who doesn't just want to hear the wins, but also hear the struggles to understand you better and redirect you, you are going to expedite your progress. And that's happened to me, and that's exactly what I've had the pleasure of doing to every single one of our clients.
Yeah, even Armando's got his group of buddies. They do challenges together, which is awesome. Stuff like that really pays off. Armando, as one of our top coaches, we have accountability systems in place for us, right? It's just, if you don't have accountability, and it doesn't have, you can try yourself, you can try with some buddies. Sometimes it gets tough because some friends are just wanting to say everything you want to hear. And I was even talking to Taylor about this. Sometimes your best friend will just be like, yeah, keep going, you're good. And it's not actually tell you, what's needed to be said. But just something to be mindful of. I do believe accountability is key, as you'll hear me say probably for the rest of me creating content and being a coach. But let's switch gears a little bit. Armando, you have something you're training for. I'm excited to hear more about it.
Absolutely. So I am actually preparing for my first full marathon. It's later this year. It is the third weekend of November. And I have never done a marathon before. I ran a half marathon with about a month and a half of preparation, which was not ideal. Definitely give yourself more time than that. But this time around, I gave myself a full 6 months to prepare for this race. So that is the main focus of my training right now. But despite that, I'm still making sure to keep a core 3 workouts of strength training minimum, just so I can hold on to as much muscle mass as possible in this process.
And so how are you finding doing the two?
Honestly, it's pretty fun. It's a good challenge to be able to juggle those things. And I think a lot of people get in their own way where they think it needs to all fit within 7 days. But sometimes if your legs are genuinely a little bit more sore or your upper body's maybe a little bit more sore, I say, you know what? I'll give myself that extra day, really make sure to hit my nutritional goals, get my steps in, do some stretching, do some foam rolling, and then when I have to go and hit that next run or that next workout, I'll be able to give my 100%. And either way, you'll keep on progressing as long as you're following your plan.
Yeah, I did my first marathon a couple years ago while maintaining the strength aspect. It's not easy. It's not for everyone. You have to have some extra, I wouldn't even say time, it's just prioritizing, right? So that hour where I would watch Netflix or scroll or sleep in, it's all right, I got to get up and get that run done. But I'm curious, have you ever thought of doing anything like hyrox? I know it's a big thing now.
Hyrox is popping off right now, and I know that they have the Toronto location. Next year, I actually just saw the announcement. They're going to have a couple more locations, one in Ottawa, I think one in Vancouver. So we'll see how we do after this marathon. But I think taking the endurance and also just the mindset that I've built from that and applying it to a different training modality like Hyrox could be a fun thing to do. It's not at the top of my list, but it's definitely creeping up there.
It's definitely fun to keep things interesting. Like we always say, keep the main thing the main thing. Like it is important. Strength training's amazing, but it's like where it gets tough is people's like goals, like they need to keep in the top of their head. But at the same time, it's tough because there needs to be that aspect that you like show up to do, right? So obviously I'll talk down on classes here and there and like, sometimes just like too much cardio and whatnot, obviously from a results perspective. But I'm like, if it gets you to get there and show up, like it's always something to be mindful of. But just, you can't always complain if you've been doing like tons of running and no lifting, then it's like, well, you're going to lose a little bit of muscle. You have to be mindful of that. You're, going to be injured potentially because you're not strength training. Like I'll always say strength training will be number one, no matter what your goal is. Even if you're doing a marathon, like you should be strength training. Like I had buddies back when I was doing it, and they would only do their 5 runs a week and never strength training. They would always get injured. Their single leg strength was a little bit weaker. Like it just wasn't as ideal. But then the people who maintain a certain level of strength training with that, they just pop off. Like they're just in such a good spot. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. And I'm kind of curious, like for people who are trying to do hybrid, and I know it's still a big thing. And last time we interviewed, it was probably even a bigger thing. I haven't heard too much about it. But even with hyrox, it still is now like a big thing because it's a component of both of them. Like what kind of tips do you have for someone trying to do both of them?
I would personally recommend to really spread things out if you can. So I know a lot of people like to double up on stuff, but the truth is that a lot of you guys are following your favorite influencer, and your favorite influencer does not have a full-time job. A lot of these people will put their schedule and their training in the morning and then running in the evening, and there's a whole lot of nothing else happening that day. But when you're a parent and you got kids and you have to take them to their own sports and you're trying to take care of yourself, it's much easier to be able to commit to one block of like training, physical activity on one given day. And I always tell people, really try and stagger, like have a running day, have a training day, have a running day, have a training day, and you will properly recover after each thing that you do. So the next time you do it, you can give your 100%, whether that be, your cardio work or whether that be just purely focusing on your strength training.
Yeah, that was awesome. Even like Armando got me thinking about all the influencers on steroids. Like they'll just be like, you got to work harder. You got to train harder. Like they'll do a million things in a day. And it's like, come on now. Like we know you're getting a bit of extra help, right?
You'll see when they're shredded, like they're about to step on stage and they're eating whatever they want and they just have the schedule to do all the time in the world that they want to do for their activities, you can kind of tell. So definitely take it with a grain of salt, the advice that they're giving you. Yeah, it's good to train harder and it's good to make time for these things and prioritize them, but the way that their schedule looks, honestly, I would say cut it in half. And that's probably what you can expect yourself to do consistently, because it's not just about being really intense with everything. It's about being able to do that for the months that it's going to take you to prepare for any of these races or even just to continue advancing beyond that.
Yeah, that's where it's so tough with the fitness industry. Like there's some people, especially the hybrid guys, like they make a killing off of just preying off of these people who want to do what they've accomplished. Like Armando said, some of them will lift like a powerlifter, they'll look like a bodybuilder, and they'll run like a marathoner. It's like they're doing everything. It's like, and then they say natural, they say, just get this supplement that I use or buy my program, my hybrid program. It's like, come on now. So it makes me think of a question that I didn't have written down, but is there anything about the fitness industry that you find like bothers you? Anything that like, being in here for 5+ years, like anything that really stands out that you wish you could fix or that, kind of grinds your gears, I guess you could say?
I would definitely say the fear mongering amongst the nutritional community. Any types of nutritional people, especially the guys who go shirtless into the grocery store, and they just find one food and they tell you that it's going to kill you and it's going to ruin your health and all these other things, like that's definitely the first sign that you should probably like just get off of the app. Like you do not need to be listening to those people about nutritional advice, and you need to take a more moderate approach because they're trying to scare you into taking an extreme. And we know from so much experience that extremes only lead to another extreme. You know, you undereat, you end up overeating, you end up overeating, you end up wanting to undereat. And the same thing goes with being very restrictive with some of these foods. I'll have people worrying about things that they just don't need to worry about at all. And they just get in their own way. So that would be the one thing that definitely annoys me the most of just about the fitness community in general online right now, is just people taking that approach when instead they could be educating or, you know, teaching people how to flexibly diet, how to log their food, how to just take accountability for what they're putting into themselves, and, you know, majority of the time give themselves what they need, and minority of the time make the room for a little bit of what they want so they can actually stay on track forever.
It's painful. There's just so much of that. Like, you know, now I see receipts, for example. If you touch a receipt, you're going to die. Like, it just, the thing is, people know what they're doing. Like, these guys that are creating the content, they know they're going to get a reaction. It's just like, and everyone out there is just following, they're commenting. They know exactly what they're doing. But yeah, it's so frustrating. I'm curious though, like for people who are looking to see change, lose 10 to 50 pounds, maybe even 100 pounds, whatever the number is, like what are some important initial habits that you think are important for someone to stick to the journey and see change like right away?
I'll immediately go to the nutritional side of things. And I explained this to somebody recently. When you have to train, you don't have to train every single day. So let's say you're training 5 times a week, right? Those are 5 decisions you have to make in regards to exercise, in regards to fitness. Whereas with nutrition, you're going to be eating every single day and multiple times a day. So that's a lot of choices that you have to make. The busier you are, the less you're going to want to make those choices. So make your life easier and start to really prioritize 1 to maybe 2 days where you could just do a good grocery haul. You can cook as much food as you can. And if you want to take it one step further, you know, separate that into your meal prep containers. And that way, on any given day, you've completely taken out the stress of having to make those choices about those meals because you did that the day before. And so that's one of those things where when you're doing it, you have to think, what is future me going to thank me for?
Yeah, I really like that. And it got me thinking, because you said nutrition's like a big part of like our day. A course that we took years ago, there was a gentleman and they were talking about like what takes up your entire week, like what takes up a lot of it. And he was talking about sleep. He said on average you sleep like whatever, I think maybe 70 hours a week. No, I guess it would be less than that. 60, let's say 60 hours a week. Think of it, there's 168 hours in the week. Like sleep is very, very important for recovery, for your nutrition, for the decisions you make day to day. Like it takes up a good component of it. Like you said, training is important, but it takes up sometimes 5 hours a week, depending on what your split's like. Stress management is so important because that could be an entire part of your day, worrying, thinking, making your hormones become messed up. So it's like, that's a very great point that you mentioned. Nutrition is such a big part of the day. It's been said that we make over 200 food related decisions a day, like thoughts wise, right? What's my portion going to be like? Where's my protein coming from? Like what should I have for breakfast, lunch, dinner, all that other stuff. It gets really tough, but I really like what you said. And with that note, like recently we did a Instagram video where basically all of our coaches, we'd share our top tip. I really like what you had to say. And if you could expand on like your top nutrition tip, that'd be awesome to share with our audience.
Of course. So the tip that I said, and I think Kyle actually mentioned it earlier in this podcast, was the most advanced thing you can do is be consistent with the basics. And what do I mean by the basics? Every single one of us has an amount of calories that we need to eat that it's either going to maintain our current weight, body size, however you want to call it. And if we stray way too far over that, we might put on some body fat. If we stray under that, maybe we might start to lose some body fat. But it's a good thing to start with is just how many calories am I eating? Giving yourself a range. And I usually like to start off clients with a 400 calorie range. And this is forcing people to avoid those extreme habits of overeating and then undereating. It's like, hey, let's be a little bit moderate and give yourself some flexibility. So that would be number 1. Within that, trying to aim for a minimum amount of protein. A simple guideline, honestly, just aim for 0.8 times how much you weigh in pounds. All right, and that'll give you how many grams you should aim for minimum of protein. And then you can fill the rest of those calories with however many grams of fats or carbs that you want, and you can play around with that. So that would be the easiest ways to start.
Awesome. And on that note, obviously, a lot of the people we work with, they have lives. Like Armando said, influencers are different. It gets tough because people just think, oh, if I listen to this person, like these people they have an infinite amount of time. Like everyone's so unique and so different. And that's where like when we create a system and when we create something for people, it's based off of what they need. And a lot of people we work with have 10 plus hour days. They have multiple children. Everyone has so much going on. That's where like when we take a full 360 look, it's like, what do you actually need? So why do you think our program is so great for that person who's like super busy, who has a lot on the go? And the reason I ask this is because so many times people will say, oh, I'm too busy to focus on it. I don't have enough time. Like, why is it that our program is the best? Like, I'm curious your thoughts.
I would say because of that adaptability and understanding that you are not a bodybuilder, right? If you want to be, we'll take you there. But meeting you where you're actually at and giving you exactly what you need instead of overwhelming you with that process. It's like, hey, this can be more simple. And when it is more simple, you'll actually be more consistent. And consistency is the thing that most people are struggling with, especially when they come to us. They've been on track and then they've been off track. So just us really asking the right questions when we're taking people in, getting to know them better, and completely tailoring that experience to where they're at right now, because we can help them, maybe free up more time in the future. But I always like to say, what's it like right now? Because if this is your current level of capacity, let's start with that and then slowly build up that capacity over time.
Honestly, I couldn't agree with you more. It really, really does make such a big difference, just having that customization, right? Because a lot of people don't realize when they come into the program, when they first send that message, when they apply, when they sign up, there's so much taken into consideration. We get the starting photos, we get the measurements, we get a form that's filled out, basically sharing so much information. What gym do you go to? How many days can you train? Do you have any potential issues that we need to be aware of, any past workout issues or anything like that? Like there's so much taken into consideration. What's your weight? What's your height? What's your age? Everything. And that's where it makes such a big difference. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I can't stress it enough. Every person is so different. If you go on ChatGPT, if you go on Google or whatever, and you're searching 3-day workout plan, full body, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you need something that's actually created for you. So I'm curious, if someone is on the fence, they've been listening to us for a while, they think, man, I need to get on board. Should I message them? Should I sign up? Like, based off of your experience, what you've seen with some of the amazing people, like, what would you tell them if they're like almost there and you think they should sign up?
If you are on the fence, thinking about signing up, maybe you've never committed to yourself or to anything like this before, I think the cost of inaction is a lot higher than the cost of inaction for you. And you really got to ask yourself.
You mean the cost of inaction is the...
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. The cost of inaction. Yeah, exactly. It's costing you more to not take action than it is to actually take the action and just see what you're actually capable of doing. Because honestly, for a lot of you guys, you have to ask yourself, how long am I willing to stay in this exact same position that I'm in right now, of being on the fence, of being stuck, not knowing what to do? We can completely take that guesswork out of the process for you and just guide you in the right direction. And like we were just saying beforehand, it's going to be completely tailored to you. We're going to meet you where we're at and make sure you understand everything that you need to know to not waste more time or waste more energy, but actually waste less, right? Get more out of what you're doing and just be a lot more effective than you could have ever been. And I think giving yourself the chance to even experience that is always going to be worth it.
I always say you're one decision away from a completely different life. And even 3 to 6 months from now, like when you start on your fitness journey, like no matter where you're at, if you take that next step, the only regret you're going to have is that you didn't start sooner, right? So 2 more things. Anyone who's looking to see results, who's struggling, like anything else that you feel like you need to share with our audience today that is a tip or anything else like that?
Any other tips other than what I've mentioned so far? So I know we touched a little bit on nutrition. We touched a little bit on training, about consistency, about using your struggles as your superpowers. I would say definitely the last thing that I would touch on to really help people dial in right now is look at who you're surrounding yourself with. You could do all those other things that we've been speaking about correctly, but if you have an environment that's really not that supportive of you, it's constantly going to be bugging at you and nagging you, and it's going to make that a lot more difficult. And so I had a conversation with some friends and even some clients recently saying that, when you are bringing up to your friends, hey, I'm trying to focus on these goals and better my health, whatever response they give you, they're going to be doing you a favor. If they support you, cool. Now you have somebody else who's in your corner. And if they don't support you, cool. You just realize who's not actually your friend.
Wow, dude, that's a mic drop right there. I haven't heard that one, but it's a circle of five, right? Like, it's just, I'd say a big part of why people struggle is that they try, they listen to the podcast, they sign up for the gym membership, everything's going well. But like you said, even nutritionally, go to the bar and they say, I'm going to get a salad with chicken. Why are you getting a salad, bro? Like, what's wrong with you? It's like, man, there's some, I've seen it all. I've been there a lot, and I know you've seen it a lot too, right? And we get messages like our clients, they say, hey, I need your support more than ever, like my spouse, my friend, my coworker. So obviously some people it's harder to fully get rid of, but at the same time, I think one of the greatest things you can do is have that discussion, have that conversation. If it's a partner, if it's a family member, say, hey, listen, I'm dead serious about this. I see a lot of people struggle because they never have that conversation. They kind of are half in and half out anyways. So they'll like make that little joke of like, I'm trying to get healthy again. Haha. And they're just never like, hey, listen, here's what I'm doing. Here's the real stakes I have involved. I've hired a coach. I'm dead serious about this. And like Armando said, if someone's just not supportive and like just not helpful at all, you got to limit that exposure, or else you'll never see any change.
Absolutely. And if you think about it this way, when you're starting to make priorities for yourself, for your fitness, for your nutrition, for just your overall habits and trying to become a better person, this also reminds you that, hey, I need to make time for the things that are important for me, and I need to limit the things that are maybe taking time and energy away from me. So that might be certain people, that might be certain habits that you don't identify with anymore. And if they've known you for a long time, they're going to think, oh, he's changing, or he or she is changing. And they're not going to want to see you change if that means that, maybe you're moving away from them and from, the circle of friends you used to hang out with. And it's definitely something that everybody needs to learn how to juggle. Like you had said, some people, they might always still be in your life, but learning how to be selective with who you hang out with, how much time you're spending with them, it's just a reflection and another version of what you're doing with your fitness and your health as well.
Awesome. And to finish off this episode, any of your favorite quotes you wanted to share? What stands out to you the most?
Oof, I dropped a lot of good ones so far. So if I can think of one right now, the only noble thing about victimhood is overcoming it.
Dang, dude. I'm just going to leave it with that. That was a good one. Mic drop. Armando, where can we find you on Instagram?
So on Instagram, it is my name. The only thing that has changed in my name is just one of the letters. I put it as an X. So at ARMXNDO. And then my last name is Figueroa, Figueroa. And that is my Instagram handle.
Awesome. And we will drop that down below for anyone who can't spell it or didn't pause it to spell it. Once again, if you are looking to get the results you're striving for, follow us on Instagram at Colossus Fit. You can message us, Fall Special or Armando. He'd be happy to work with you. Armando genuinely cares about every client. That's why he gets such great results. That's why he's been here for so many years. So yeah, just want to say we're grateful to have you here, man. It's been amazing to see you even just grow as a person, grow as a coach. And we're just excited for the future.
Super grateful for you guys as well. And I appreciate you having me on the podcast today.
All right, buddy. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you in the next one. And make sure to follow Armando and shoot us a message. Peace out.